Good morning everybody, welcome back to a humble Highland home. I've got a few things to gather up and I will see you up at the greenhouse. The sun is shining for the moment anyway. We've already had rain, sleet and snow this morning, but I'm making the most of the sunshine as I want to get lots done in the garden today. But first, I have a few jobs to do in the greenhouse. So I need to uncover all of my babies. This is just a frost protection that I've been putting on at night time. They seem to be all doing very well. These have not yet germinated. It's Echinacea purple and black-eyed Susan, and we've got some sweet basil and some coriander. The coriander's starting to look okay. Also got these on here. This is a little edible pot that I made up for a gift, so that'll be going out over the weekend at some point. And then over here we've got some spinach, and my salad leaves didn't do too good this time in the germination, so I'm going to plant some more of those, but I was going to be planting more of those anyway. We'll see how the next lot get on. And I've got some sunflower. These are dwarf sunflower seeds that have come up nicely. I didn't expect them all to germinate, so I'm quite pleased with those. So those that don't know me, I'm Menita, and I've been working on various aspects of this garden over a good number of years now. So I've been using the principles of permaculture, and I've made lots of observations over the years: the weather patterns, the sun, where the land lies, where the water pockets hold. So it's an exciting time this year that I'm actually going to get to grow some food in the areas that we planned at the top garden. So the other day I was asked how I would take cuttings off a rosemary bush. So today I'm going to show you. So this is one of my rosemary bushes that I have in a pot. So I've recently brought this rosemary bush up to the croft, and I'm not quite sure how it's going to fare in the cooler temperatures here. So I was debating whether to actually plant it eventually in the herb garden, or whether just to pot it on into a bigger pot so that I can store it in the greenhouse over winter. Rosemaries really prefer sandy soil and really hot and humid conditions. So here in the north of Scotland we don't get as much sun as what we might like. We do get a lot of rain, and the soil is not that sandy, so I would have to add some sand into the soil to make the conditions better for it to thrive. So to take a cutting, I'm going to look for a stem that's not got any sign of any disease or any pests and is looking pretty healthy. I would then take round about 10 centimetres, cutting just below a node. So that looks like a healthy specimen. Now I'm going to take a few cuttings because I really would like a few more plants, and it's a great way of getting free plants. So I'm going to take them into the greenhouse now and show you what to do next. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill this pot, this recycle pot, with a mix of compost, and I've put some sand in here as well. It's not quite a 50-50 mix. It's more compost than more it is sand, but that'll give it lots of good drainage. Next, I'm going to take our cuttings and I'm going to take the bottom section of the leaves off. Oh, this smells gorgeous, by the way. You can use a rooting powder or a rooting hormone, but I'm not going to with this one. So these are the nodes where the roots should start coming from. So I'll just put that on the side there. And I'll do the same with these ones. If your cuttings are a bit long, just trim them off. So that's the last one, just going in. Now these are softwood cuttings, which means that it's the most recent growth. So the wood here is quite soft compared to some of the other wood on the shrub that is really quite hard. So these are softwood cuttings. And this is the best time to do them as we're coming into spring, because this is when the growth will start. Just press them in. So I've just given my cuttings a water. Now I always keep a watering can full of rainwater in the greenhouse at all times, and then that way I can make sure that when I'm watering I'm not using freezing cold water on my young tender plants. So that's a wee tip. So I'm going to cover this now so that I can build up the humidity inside to protect the plants. So this is just something that I've used before. It's going to be a bit small. Or I can just use a wee bag. So there we go. Just got a bag over the top, and I'll check that every few days just to check for any fungal infection or any mold. And as soon as we start seeing some roots coming through the bottom, then I will just pop those on. So fingers crossed, we should have 4 new rosemary plants soon. So that's the exact same method that I used later on last year, when I was fortunate enough to get some offcuts from a sage plant. So I did exactly the same, overwintered them in the greenhouse with a bag over the top, and I potted these on just not long since, and these are doing so well. I'm absolutely delighted. A rosemary is full of anti-inflammatory compounds and antioxidants. I use it a lot in cooking, I use it in teas, I dry it, I use it in so many different things. Also, the smell can help you provide focus and concentration. It can really help with mental stimulation. And I can remember when I was at college many years ago that I used to use rosemary essential oils in my oil burner when I was having to study quite late at night, and it kept me going, and I have used it on several occasions since then, so it might be worth something worth thinking about. I had also read somewhere that rosemary and other strong smelling plants are really good to have around areas that you might socialise in the garden, as I do believe that they can keep away mosquitoes. Now I'm hoping that if I put this in the area where we generally sit outside, that it might keep away the midges. However, I'm not holding out too much hope because the midges are pretty robust. So I got all these moved yesterday. These are some of the other cuttings that I've taken. These I took last autumn. These are elderberry. So I'll wait until they get a bit bigger before planting them out. And lots of cuttings off my mint. I separated my mint in autumn time last year. And we've got some signs of growth down there. So that's really exciting. And this here, I have not got a clue what's growing in here. And that's one of the things I have said to myself I really must improve on, is I must label things. So I always think that I'll remember, but that's not always the case. And these three are black currant. Now these black currant bushes I actually got as cuttings about 3 years ago, when myself and Adam, my partner, and my 2 eldest grandchildren, we went along to a community garden event where we were helping to clear strawberry plants, pot on strawberry plants. We were clearing autumn beds, and we were pruning the black currant bushes. So I was gifted a few black currant cuttings, and I used the same method as what I've just used for the rosemaries, and I've just left them to do their thing. And then last year I potted them on once they got a good root system underneath. So last year I potted them on, and they all seem to be doing really well. So I'm absolutely delighted with them. So out of an afternoon's work with my grandkids, which I think is absolutely fab to get the kids involved in growing their own food and mixing with members of the community that are also growing their own food. And so I will be hopefully planting them out this year at some point, once I decide where they're going to go, once we've cleared the space and I know the amount of space that we've got for fruit bushes, and also to have a look at what deer would be prone to eating, and whether I've got to provide that kind of protection against the deer potentially coming in the garden. So before I bid you a farewell, I will just take you over to the area where I'm going to be growing, and where the polytunnel's actually going to go, either later this year or early next year, and I'll show you what I've been doing here. Today I've marked out where the growing beds are going to go for this year, and then we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, when it comes to putting up the polytunnel, of what that's going to look like. But this is where I intend on growing my outdoor crops this year. So so the 2-foot spacings, that is where I'm going to continue building up the soil, and then there's 10 centimetres in between each, 10 inches in between each bed, which will give me just enough walk space and working space to be able to tend to the beds. So I'm going to head off and make the most of this weather, just in case it starts raining again. You can never tell. So thank you so much for joining me. Take care, and I will see you in the next video.